think our clock inside is slow, so we'll get going here. We'll call the meeting to order. We encourage members of the public to participate in our meetings. You can access the website at cityofclovis.com /agendas, or you can also write to us at our website, or you can come here in the council chambers in person to give your testimony. With that, we will have the flag salute. I'm going to ask Councilmember Bessinger to lead us in our flag salute. I want to welcome everybody here this evening. We're going to have roll call now by Andy.
Okay. Councilmember Basco. Here. Councilmember Bessinger.
Here.
Councilmember Moanatua.
Here.
Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
And Mayor Ashbeck is absent.
This time we're going to have public comments. If someone is here, if you would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, you may do so and address the council at this time. We may not take any action, but we can sure like to hear what anybody has to say. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to close that public portion. Ordinances and resolutions. With respect to the approval of resolutions and ordinances, the reading of the title shall be deemed a motion to waive a reading of the complete resolution or ordinance, and unless there is a request by a council member that the resolution or ordinance be read in full, further reading of the resolution or ordinance shall be deemed waived by unanimous consent of the council. Move now to the consent calendar, and I think we have item 3 is requested to be pulled by Chad, and then I have requested item 9 to be pulled. So any other items the rest of the council like to pull for the consent item? Would like to open the public as well to address? Okay. Is anybody here in the public wanting to address items, the consent items, except for items 3 and item 9? We will address those individually. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion, bring it back to the council, see if there's a motion for the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of items 3 and 9.
Second. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, item 3. And Chad, would you like to present a little bit before we turn it over to Will?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Moanatua and members of the council. This item before you, item 3 on the consent calendar, is a report provided quarterly by the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation as part of our 2023-2024 contract. We pay the Fresno County EDC $12,500 quarterly. That money supports our efforts here in Clovis to retain and attract business. It also supports the Fresno County EDC and their efforts to regionally make economic development efforts, which also supports our businesses and our employees. So Will Oliver is the president and CEO of Fresno County EDC, and he's joined us tonight to give us a little more background on the report that's being presented today and their ongoing efforts.
Terrific.
Welcome, Will.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Will Oliver, President and CEO of the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation. First, I want to say thank you to the council for providing feedback regarding our quarterly reports that we share with the city on our ongoing progress and our partnership with city staff. We really took that to heart and sat down to make sure that we could revamp that structure so that it's valuable for you all. One, to make sure that we are better reflecting the services and capabilities and the talented team that we have to offer at the EDC. And I'm joined this evening by our Vice President of Workforce Development, Chris Seitz, and Director of Business Services, Lauren Nickel. Two, that it accurately captures the value and outcomes through our collective partnership. And three, it provides some polish so that information can be easily obtained that is succinct and clear. So with the report that's before you this evening, that's what we've started to do to simplify that, to identify some of the strategic initiatives that are underway, some of the outcomes for the past quarter, local businesses that we engage on a regular basis, and other regional endeavors that are important to the city of Clovis as well as to the Fresno EDC. So we just wanted to address those points, and again, thank you for your constructive feedback. In the future, we will certainly have staff present when those items are heard, and we are more than happy to come back on an annual basis or whenever is requested to talk about some of our work on behalf of the city of Clovis in far more detail. So thank you again for your time, and if you have any questions concerning the report, I'd be happy to answer those as well.
Do any of the council members have a question for either Chad or for Will? Well, I just wanted to thank you for making the report specific to the city of Clovis. I appreciate that. And in our meeting, I didn't realize how much work you actually did work with Chad, and prior to that with Andy, the EDC did. And so I think this gives our residents a sharper view of what you actually do for us, and we appreciate that. We hope to continue that relationship and the partnership in bringing businesses here, not just to Clovis, but to the entire Fresno County.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem.
We're going to open the item up to the public. Anyone here to speak on any questions on this item number 3? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public portion, bring it back to the council regarding item 3 for action.
Motion to approve item number 3, the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we just yay or nay, or do we need roll call for this?
Stick with a roll call. Yeah.
Roll call? Okay. Can we get roll call?
Councilmember Basco?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Councilmember Bessinger?
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yes.
And Councilmember Monatua?
Yes. Okay. Next
Motion
is,
carries.
thank you. Motion carries 4-0. Next is item number 9, and so, I wanted to pull this one. I didn't need a report on it. I just wanted to change the noticing and wanted to see if the rest of the council members would approve of it per the report. It seems that because it's over 1,000 homes that we will notice, because we're taking all the rezones as one action, I still wanted to respect the residents and treat it as individual, even though it's one action, and notify the residents per a general plan or a rezone, and allow residents the opportunity to see what's going to happen to their property because it's important. So I'm just requesting that that be added in the resolution, and to see if, I think that's something we would do typically, and here, because it's over 1,000, I understand that staff can just put it in the papers and not notify individual homes connected or within the legal distance from the individual parcels. I wanted to see what fellow council members thought about that.
I agree. I mean, we legally, I think we've been putting it in the Fresno Business Journal, which I only see at the car wash. And this is such a potential life-changing or neighborhood-changing item that I think the more we put this out to begin with, we don't have surprises and anger later. So more is better in this situation.
Agree.
Okay. We're going to open up for the public to see if anybody had comments on item number 9. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion, bring it back. Scott or Renee, do we need a specific language, or is it understood what we want?
I think in the motion, I would suggest to just clarify that it's in accordance with existing city policy for the individual mail notice. And I think staff understands what that is. So, And I apologize, you do not need a roll call vote, but we will announce whatever the outcome of the vote is.
Okay. So, we probably want a motion. Okay, we take a motion for,
Motion on item number 9 for approval with the addition that individual mailing notices, be included in the future.
we have a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That completes the consent calendar. Now we'll move into public hearings. Okay, a public hearing is an open consideration with a regular or special meeting of the City Council for which special notice has been given and may be required. When a public hearing is continued, notice of the adjourned item is required per Government Code 54955.1. First item for the public hearings is item number 12, and this is the adoption of City of Clovis 2024-2025 Annual Action Plan for the expenditure of Community Development Block Grant Funds. And staff presenting on this is Claudia Casares, Housing Programs Manager.
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Casares, Housing Program Manager for the City of Clovis. Along with me is Holly. She is our staff analyst, Holly Greathouse. She's our staff analyst for the housing programs as well. And today before you is our 2024-2025 CDBG Annual Action Plan for an estimated allocation of $650,000. It is an estimate. I will get to a better explanation of that in a slide in this presentation. As you know, there's two tests to make CDBG activity or program eligible for CDBG funds. First, it needs to meet one of the 3 national objectives. It has to either benefit a low, moderate income person or people. It has to eliminate or slum or blight, which the City of Clovis hardly never uses that. Or it needs to meet an urgent need, which also the City of Clovis hardly never uses that. Number 3 is mainly used like during a national disaster. So we try to stay within the number 1, benefiting low to moderate income people in general. So if we stick to that one, benefiting low and moderate income persons to general, the way that we qualify our activities or programs is direct income qualification of a household. That usually happens within our housing rehabilitation program. We income qualify a household. Or we serve a limited clientele population. For example, the senior community is a limited clientele population, and as a limited clientele population, they are deemed to be low income, and services provided to them are of the benefit of low and moderate income persons in general. The third way we qualify our project is through locating them in a low and moderate income census tract, like a sidewalk improvement could be located in a low and moderate income census tract, and that makes that activity eligible. And the low and moderate income census tracts for the City of Clovis are in this map here. They are mostly in the western area of Clovis, of course. A lot of our CIP projects that are usually put forth are in southwest Clovis, as you know. There is an outlying low and moderate income census tract in southeast Clovis, and we do not have any projects there currently. In general, CDBG eligible activities include, but are not limited to, there's a wide range of activities, infrastructure like streets and sidewalks, public facilities like the construction of facilities for sewer drains, water drains, even buildings, public services, which is limited to a 15% cap out of our CDBG allocation, and I'll get to that also. Street improvements in general, removal of ADA, architectural barriers or installation of ADA improvements, housing rehabilitation, of course, and economic development, which we'll discuss as well. In general, parks and recreation in the past, like installing playground areas or parks or trees in our parks. Code enforcement is also eligible. We are not funding code enforcement this year. And of course, program administration, which is capped at 20%, which pays for staff. So to get to today, in developing the city's action plan, several steps were taken. First, we look at our past performance and how we've done over the last year or so and see what has been working well, what the need is out there still as staff. We also have taken on citizen participation through public meetings, and I wanted just to mention them because I'm really proud of what we've done this year. We've had a very robust public participation schedule this year. There was a call for projects, January 26th. There was notices put out in the Fresno Bee and the Business Journal. There was an email sent out to nonprofits that service low and moderate income persons and limited English-speaking organizations. We had a meeting that provided input as a workshop for CDBG, potential CDBG applicants. We sent a second email and social media blast and Fresno Bee notices and Business Journal notices February 26th. It noticed a public meeting inviting people to provide their input. That public meeting was held March 14th. We also noticed this public hearing a month ago, and also in the Business Journal, also in the Fresno Bee, also blast an email through our 47 members list, which grows all the time, and also through social media blast through all of our social media platforms in the city of Clovis. And so this year we've tried to hit a lot of what we haven't in the past. We also did physical postings in laundromats, in the rec center, in the senior center, in the transit center, at City Hall, of course, the library. Ms. Winkle. We're trying to get the word out there because we'd love to hear from our public and see what they think about our CDBG program and how it should be used, and make sure that we have their input. So I'm really proud of what we've done this year. Holly and I have tried to hit as many areas as possible. So after that, in coordination with Clovis leadership and our city manager's office, we had a meeting reviewing all of our applications we had for the year, and we proposed a list of activities to fund, which I'll show. That was noticed a month ago, like I mentioned, for public comment, and it was noticed as a public comment and public hearing for today. So we took comments, which we did not receive any until today, but today people could also show up and give comments today. So before I go to our list of projects, I just wanted to remind you what some of our projects look like recently. This is my favorite part. Our applicants are mostly seniors. Most of the projects we've done this year have been in mobile homes. This is a mobile home for one of our senior ladies. She's widowed. She actually was in construction in her previous life, and so she had a lot of input into her rehab. And she was very lively, and we were able to actually fix that sliding door that you see there, although you don't see the new one. But as we were fixing her home, we also provided new flooring. Obviously, that carpet is bad. She's had to put a whole bunch of over that so that she's not walking on top of rotted carpet. And so we took her carpet out, put new flooring. She no longer has a trip hazard, and she no longer has this rotted flooring on her house, and she was really happy. This one was a trickier one. This homeowner, she's obviously not a mobile home, didn't qualify for our loan program, and so we had to try to fit her into just the CDBG program, but she just needed a new roof. And so the CDBG program only offers $8,000 as the grant, and that is not enough to cover a new roof, not even in a mobile home, much less a stick-built home. So she was able to reach out to her family members and receive some help to help cover the rest of the cost. I think it was an extra $4,000 she was able to put in from her family members. She was elderly. Actually, I think she was in her 90s, and she had family living with her, and so they all pitched in and helped her get her new roof. It had been leaking. There was rot. There was mold damage. It was causing her windows to get damaged as well. And so, again, happy resident that we were able to help her with her roof. And then, of course, we also replaced windows in both mobile homes and stick-built homes. It's a very widely used activity in our housing rehab. And it mostly is because these older windows don't shut well, and so they cause mold in the walls around the windows. And so that's why we do the windows. They also, some of them don't open and close anymore, and so they're a safety hazard for our seniors or whoever lives in the homes. And so even though it seems like, oh, is it just energy efficiency? Well, it isn't. Actually, it isn't. It's a health hazard, and it's a mold hazard, and so we happily replace windows in our homes. So the next slide lists the activities that staff proposes for council review and approval for this year. And the estimated CDBG allocation is $650,000. It's estimated because HUD has not provided any cities or states or counties the actual allocations they're receiving. The budget hasn't been approved yet for the federal government, and so we're still in limbo for now. But HUD asked us to provide an estimated allocation amount, and I'll explain what that means in a bit. So $650 is just about $2,000 less than what we received last year. Every year we've been receiving a little bit less, and so I rounded it off to $650 to make it easy for Holly and I. Of the applications we received, we would propose to fund the housing rehabilitation program at $100,000, which is actually lower than last year. The microenterprise community kitchen at $55,000, which actually reflects what we think they're going to spend this year. There's a project out of the CIP office for the Santa Ana Avenue sidewalk installation. There's missing sidewalk on the south side of Santa Ana, and I'll show you a map. They'd like to also provide some improvements to the Holland and Rickard Alley. This $143,500 is actually only a portion of the funding that was requested, and so we would look at possibly funding it with any leftover funds or funds from the following year, next year. This year, for the first time, I'm really proud to say, we'd like to fund a public service activity. We haven't funded public service activities in the recent past, if at all. And one of them is the Clovis Senior Enrichment Activities. And through the Senior Center will provide additional activities beyond what's being provided right now. As I'm sure you know, we have this beautiful facility out there, and there's always space to do more. And so with this $48,750 in CDBG funds, we'll be able to address additional services and activities and programming to our senior community out of the center. The second public service activity we'd like to fund is the Marjorie Mason Center, Domestic Violence Survivor Services. And they would be providing direct services at their Clovis Center, but they will also be providing street outreach to homeless persons in the city of Clovis and providing them resources of how to help them get out of homelessness. And that's also at the $48,750. Those put together meet that 15% cap that I mentioned we can fund out of CDBG. And then the last activity is, of course, is administration, which is staff time, which is a part of Holly and I. And it's the maximum we could fund admin out of CDBG is 20%, and that's that $130,000. We did have 2 additional applicants that submitted for CDBG projects that were not funding that were not selected, but we have them listed as backup projects in case any of these other projects fall through or they can't come to fruition. We would come back to City Council and request you fund these additional, either one of these additional projects at whatever funding amount is available. One of them was the Acts of Kindness. It's very similar to our housing rehabilitation program we already have with Habitat for Humanity at a smaller scale. And so they do a lot of beautification of housing that maybe can't exactly fit into our owner-occupied housing rehab program, and that's through Habitat for Humanity. And the Upwards Boost Daycare Microenterprise Support is a for-profit company that provides services to daycare owners to expand their services, mostly to low-income families. But it really is, it provides them a platform for them to automate their services and provides them training and provides them the ability to be able to expand basically their enterprise. The Santa Ana Avenue sidewalk installation is on the south side of Santa Ana Avenue. There are no sidewalks there, and it's from Peach to Villa. It is in a low and moderate income census tract. The next page is the Holland Rickard Avenue alley. It runs from Peach Avenue to the curve of Rickard Avenue. And like I mentioned, that one is funded at a lesser amount than was requested because we didn't have enough CDBG funds to fund all of it. If for some reason there is additional CDBG funds available, it will go into this project to make it whole. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, and this is new. Because we have an estimated amount of $650,000, HUD has asked us to provide this additional information to council for your review and approval. If the funding allocation that comes from HUD is actually higher, then it allows for that 15% to be higher and the 20%, the 15% for public services to be higher and the 20% for administration to be higher as well. So any amount over $650 will first be divided into that 15% for the Marjorie Mason Center and the Clovis Senior Center and admin. If there is any, well, there will be remaining funds if the allocation is higher. It will be put into that Holland Rickert Alley project that is missing funds. If the allocation from HUD is lower, then that would make that 15% for public services lower. It would make the 20% for administration lower, and anything remaining will be taken out of the Holland Rickert Alley. And so this is based on the recommendation from HUD of how we present this, so that it doesn't cause us to have to come back to council to allow for these actions to take place once the entitlement is announced. Okay, that completes our recommendations and presentation, and we're open to any questions you may have. I'm also going to flip back to our activity listing in case you have any questions on that.
Any questions for the staff regarding the CDBG?
Just a quick comment. Over the years, this program has been really helpful in some of our neighborhoods that have been struggling. The alley improvements sound like little things, but when you're talking about blight, if you have an alley where people dump their stuff where they think nobody cares. So if you have an alley that it's in very poor condition, people drive by, they dump their sofa and whatever else and then everybody else starts doing it. So over the years, I've noticed the improvement in neighborhoods because we're taking care of these little things. So this is an important project. Thank you.
Councilmember Basco.
I would just like to say that I'm glad to see the Marjorie Mason Center as a recipient here for this project. And then also, I did get a presentation from the Boost Daycare Micro Enterprise, and down the road, if something like that can happen in the future too, I think that would be really good. I know it said it's for profit, but their concept seemed to be something that really did help the community and was beneficial to those that were running daycare. So I think you probably have seen the presentation as well, but just wanted to make that note that I had seen that presentation. So thank you.
Claudia, I just want to thank you for always bringing the projects in. I think those are important for us to see. Even though they're little, it changes that family, that home, and you always bring in the health component of some of the changes that we do that actually improves the health of that family. I want to concur with Councilmember Bessinger with regards to the streets and alleys. One of my philosophies about what the job a city does is keeping streets paved, lights on, street lights on. And this program has pushed that, has kept improving that, and our alleys are one in which you and our staff have always put an eye on and to improve it. And I truly believe it gives pride of, if they're in an apartment, it might not be ownership, but at least a pride in the home that they're living next to that alley. So thank you for that. I appreciate the Marjorie Mason looking into the homeless, because we're starting to see that more and more. And I know that it's domestic violence, but those two are sometimes so closely related that that it's just important. I appreciate them getting some funds to help us with that. And then I wanted to just state for our residents, you know, I've always asked about how many housing vouchers the city of Clovis have, and I appreciate, it must have been you or one of the development staff, bring it 686. So that shows that there are a lot of homeowners here in Clovis who want to be able to give people a house to live in and to enjoy the amenities of Clovis. So wherever they live, at least they're getting services and benefiting for our services. So 686, that's amazing. Hopefully more homeowners can allow other people to come here, live here in Clovis as well. So excellent report, Claudia. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to open it up for the public. Anyone here to address this item on CDBG? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public portion, and I think it's an action item 2.
Motion to approve the City of Clovis 2024-2025 Annual Action Plan for Expenditure of CDBG Grant Funds.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion second on the floor. Roll call, please. Is it roll call? All in favor?
Just a vote, just a vote.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 1, 2, thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
Item number 13, and Scott, you probably want A through G read into the record.
If you want, I can make a brief announcement before we do that. But,
Sure.
yeah, so, just as the council is certainly aware, and I think several members in the audience are probably aware, this item was heard originally on March 18th, at the March 18th City Council meeting. There was a public hearing duly noticed and held, lasted probably more than 2 hours, I think, with a lot of, public comment, both in opposition to and in favor of the project. The council heard from several neighboring residents. The public hearing was closed. It was officially closed, if you recall. And the council, there were 9 items on that agenda that evening. The council did approve 3 of those items. So if you recall, there were 9 items, 3 of which that were approved. One was the council certified the EIR for the project. The council also approved the, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but the sphere of influence change, and also approved the application for the annexation, submitting the application for annexation. The other 6 items on that evening's agenda, which are were continued to tonight, and will be held again tonight, are still on this evening's agenda. There is a 7th item that's been added to tonight's agenda, which George, I think, will go over, and the applicant probably has some comments on. The council also has a handout, I think, from some of the neighboring residents, as well as the applicant, discussing the proposed changes that will be discussed tonight. So there is a 7th item on this evening's agenda that was added, and that's item A, which is the addendum to the EIR to address some of the changes that are being proposed to the project. Those changes, should the council wish to approve those, will require the approval of item A tonight, and it also modifies 2 of the other items as reflected on the agenda, the track map approval, which is item E on this evening's agenda, and then also item F as well. It's connected with track map approval, so that if the change is approved, it'll also have an impact on item F. So if we want to read all of those items, we certainly can, or we can just note for the record that they're on the agenda for this evening.
We'll just
sorry, just to add, again, doesn't look like we're as full tonight as we were on March 18th. I think the council obviously heard a lot of public comment that evening. So to those in the audience who may be here tonight to speak on the item, certainly you don't have to repeat the comments that were made at the previous meeting. Again, the council did approve 3 of those items. There are some changes tonight, however, so the public is going to have an opportunity to speak tonight after the council, has some questions and whatnot. But ultimately, I think the applicant will have, what the suggestion is, the applicant will have the final word to kind of close out the public portion, and then it'll come back to council for discussion and deliberation on the items on this evening's agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. And we'll just note for the record the items as stated by our city attorney, so I won't read them all. And we will go ahead and receive the report from our senior planner, George Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Good evening. As I begin my presentation, I want to mention for the record that the council this evening received 2 correspondence associated with this project. One is a correspondence from the Quail Run community providing conditional support of the project, and a second correspondence from Wilson Homes requesting that the City Council approve Track 6205 with totaling 580 units, and including the Windsor product, as outlined in Attachments 20 and Attachment 1A of the staff report. So those 2 correspondence are on the record. And also, Steve McMurtry, who is our CEQA consultant, is on the line and available to answer any questions that the council may have regarding this item. So compared to my presentation back in March, tonight's presentation is going to be short and to the point, and I'll be able to answer any questions that the council will have. Following council's consideration of the project back in March of this year, staff did present the proposed Shepherd North project to the council, and after deliberation and comments back and forth, we received a lot of comments from the neighboring property owners. The council, as Scott mentioned, the council did approve 3 of the 9 items associated with the project that evening, including the EIR, the SOI expansion, and the annexation. The council further requested that the developer went back and meet with the neighbors to potentially discuss some of the concerns that were expressed that evening and potentially address some of those concerns as well with the project. And in closing, the council continued the remaining 6 items that evening to a date certain, which was tonight. That's why we're here tonight. And as Scott mentioned, now we have a 7th item, which is the EIR addendum, if the council chooses to approve the proposed modifications this evening. So, as directed by council, staff facilitated 2 neighborhood meetings in March so this last month in cooperation with the developer. The first meeting was on April 2nd, which was held at the City of Clovis Transit Center. And members of the development team were at the meeting along with LAFCO staff and city staff as well. And at the meeting, county representatives were not available to attend that first neighborhood meeting. Approximately 45 to 50 folks attended that meeting, and the primary focus of the meeting was to allow folks to, 1, ask questions, and 2, present the concerns associated with the project. And if the applicant or staff, if we were able to answer some of those questions at that meeting, we did. And if not, we committed to taking those comments back, analyzing them, and providing a formal answer at the second neighborhood meeting. Some of the key points of concern that were raised at that first neighborhood meeting were related to traffic, density, water, Perrin Avenue, Shepherd Avenue, Sunnyside, the 4th Amendment to the MOU, and annexation. So subsequent to that meeting, staff went back and met with the neighbors and the developer as well on April 17th. That meeting was held at the Senior Activity Center, where we had, again, members of the development team, also LAFCO staff, city staff, and county staff as well. We had Hector Luna with the county present that evening, and also the chief of staff for Supervisor Nathan Magzik there at that meeting as well, and listening to some of the comments. So at that meeting, the developer was able to discuss some of the proposed modifications to the project based on the comments that they received at the first meeting, which I will touch on my next slide. But also I wanted to point out that staff also took the opportunity to also discuss some of the topics that were brought up to staff that were questions specific to the city, where staff had to provide a formal answer regarding those items, which we did. And some of the topics that staff addressed at the second meeting included the closure of Shepherd Avenue, the potential closure of Sunnyside Avenue, the current language in the 4th MOU between the county and the city, and also the annexation of the Quail Run community adjacent to this project. And it's important to know that subsequent to the April 17th meeting, the county did have their own separate meeting with the rural residential folks on May 1st. To my understanding, it was focused primarily on Sunnyside Avenue between Shepherd and Nice Avenue. And the county wasn't able to be here this evening and provide more information, but I'll try to answer any questions that council may have on that. So some of the proposed modifications proposed by the developer that were included in the discussions of the second neighborhood meeting on March 17th included a reduction in the number of lots. So if the council recalls, the original project in March was showing 605 units. So the developer is proposing to decrease that from 605 down to 580. That's a total reduction of 25 units. In addition to that, the applicant, the developer agreed to add or replace a new home product on the north side of the project here, which is with their Windsor product, which is their largest product, their most expensive product currently developed by Wilson, and also committing to having the Windsor product a single story on the north side of the project. As a result of the reduction of the number of lots, the density of, at least on this northern part of the project here, went down from initially 4.73 dwelling units per acre to 3.8 dwelling units per acre approximately. Overall, because of the reduction in the number of lots, the project as a whole was reduced from 7.77 dwelling units per acre down to approximately 7.4. So still within the medium-high density designation being requested for the project. Also, the applicant proposed to relocate the gated entry on the north side of Heirloom. If the council recalls, the original proposal had the entry gated right in this area here on the north side of Heirloom. They're moving it to the west in an effort to provide a greater landscape buffer between this neighborhood here and the rural residential folks adjacent to them. Also, the modification is to increase the wall height along the perimeter of the project identified here in the dashed blue line adjacent to the rural residential folks as well, and limiting the height of the play structure within the proposed neighborhood park in the center, just on the south side of Heirloom Avenue. Also, the developer committed to minimizing the future interruptions of the intersection of Shepherd and Fallow Avenues when bringing utilities through this area. And finally, the modifications, including the extension of a water line along Perrin Road or Perrin Avenue on the north side here, identified in blue, and providing 3 stub-out locations, one on Purdue, the other one close to or adjacent to Sunnyside and Perrin, and the third on the north side of the roundabouts. So those were the proposed modifications that were presented to the neighbors, and as indicated in the staff report, the developer was unable to acquire a consensus with them, and that's why the staff report indicated that the applicant is requesting consideration of the original project, but just today, the applicant informed staff that they reached a tentative agreement with the neighbors, and therefore these modifications are back on the table. So due to these proposed modifications, the staff subsequently prepared an EIR addendum to analyze the proposed revisions that I just discussed with council. And the addendum concluded that the proposed revisions do not cause a significant impact or any new significant impact or substantially increase the severity of a previously identified significant impact in the certified EIR that the council approved back in March. And ultimately concluded that a subsequent EIR is not required for the project. So if the council this evening decides to approve the modifications, then the council is asked to take action on the addendum in this evening. So based on everything that occurred between March and today, staff is requesting that the council this evening formally take action on the EIR addendum this evening. GPA 2106, which is requesting the Shepherd Avenue access point for this project. GPA 2105, which is amending the general plan land use designation for the development area. Approving pre-zone 2109, which is the pre-zoning for the development area, which is the approximately 77 acres. Also approving track 6205 for the 580 lot. I want to be specific about that. So not the 605, but the 580 lot, single-family planned residential development. Also, planned development permit 2104, and finally, the fourth amendment of the MOU between the city and the county. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Go ahead, Councilman Messenger.
Great presentation. If the proposal had gone for higher density rather than lower density, as we have done, the EIR would have been required because it would have substantially changed the conditions, correct?
If they were going higher than what the EIR approved, yeah, that would impact the EIR. And I'll ask Steve if you can add a little bit more about that, what happens in that case. Go ahead, Steve.
So if the project would have been modified to
Can you repeat? We're not able to hear you, Steve.
I'm sorry, I'll try to talk a little louder.
Okay.
If the project would have been modified to have higher density, it would have resulted in more people, total population generation, which would have had various impacts throughout the entire EIR, from higher trip volumes to larger water demand to sewer generation increases. So it would have trickled through just about every section of the EIR and had an increased severity of impacts. The lower density has a reduction of impacts compared to what was analyzed previously.
The only reason I asked that was for clarification, in case someone questions why we did not require a new EIR. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions? Yeah, Councilmember Basco.
Just one quick question. On the, on this project, the trail is proposed on the, south side of the street?
Of Shepherd, yes.
Of Shepherd?
Yes.
Is that still part of the project? And have we heard from those residents about that part?
That is still part of the project, and as of tonight, I haven't personally heard anything else from the neighbors. I don't know if engineering has any new correspondence with them.
The only feedback we have so far is the developer has reached out to try to acquire right-of-way on Shepherd and has got a little feedback from them, just additional things that they're requesting.
And as this project, if it gets approved and moves forward, is that something we can still follow up with, make sure? Because my main concern with that whole part of the trail system there was the safety aspect of people pulling in and out of their residence on, going past the trail and that kind of thing. So is that something we can still do if we approve it tonight?
as far as what follow-up are you requesting?
The trail itself, just making sure that, that is the right thing to do, going forward, because there's already a trail on the other side of the street as well.
Right.
So, I know we're proposing that trail to be a connector, but there's also the safety concern that goes with that, so, I'm just asking if we're not boxing ourselves into that we can modify that aspect of it if it becomes an issue down the road.
I believe that staff has the ability to modify it, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's a yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Georgia, can you give any sense of the discussion with regards to Sunnyside, the meeting? Did you get any reports from the county and the residents, or is that something separate with regards to their meeting where I know that staff and the applicant, we weren't involved, so.
We did have city staff, at that meeting. I wasn't in there personally, but we did have city staff in there. And the primary focus of the meeting was pertaining to Sunnyside.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the county was still committed to looking at a traffic calming device particularly there at Teague and Sunnyside, to address speeding and possibly having folks maybe choose a different route and avoid this area if possible. But that was the extent of the overall meeting. I know there's some rural residential folks here that perhaps attended the meeting, and by all means, they're more than welcome to provide a little bit more information to the council this evening as well.
But it's good that now the county is engaged in their road.
Yes.
With the residents that are there.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the staff? Okay, at this time we'll open up to the public portion. We'll allow the applicant to speak first.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, I'm Dirk Puschel, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Wilson Homes. First, I'd like to thank George and planning staff for all their efforts those last two meetings to try to put us together with the property owners essentially to the northwest. We're happy to be able to produce an agreement. You asked us to try. We did. We're proud of the effort, and we don't really have anything else to say. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to modify the project and make it more approvable and acceptable to the community. So we thank you for your time this evening.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant from the council? Okay. Thank you, Dirk. Anyone else here to address anything on agenda number 13? If you can state your name and give your address for the record, and then go ahead.
My name is Yvette Sanchez, and my home is 5211 East Shepherd. We were directed at the meeting on April 17th to go to the next meeting, which was with the county. As we attended that meeting, as you've already spoken about, it had nothing to do with our front yard. It had only to do with what was happening on Teague and Sunnyside. We thought we could go to that location and maybe have some common sense to what would happen next in our front yard. We have no update on what's going to happen in our front yard until last Thursday, which we received an email from Wilson Homes, who sent some type of an offer at the very last hour, the very last day. So we are still in not agreement with this project. We haven't had the opportunity to counteroffer. We don't know if we'll be able to get out of our driveways. We have RVs, we have boats, we have bridges that allow us to get into our home. We have no idea what that's going to look like from our south side of the road. With the middle divider the way it is, it's going to be only able that we can enter our home from the west. So we have no update at this point. I feel like if the city chooses to approve this, it's irresponsible, because we need to go all the way through that process with these people who have given us that offer in the last hour, the last moment of the last day. So there's 4 of us there. And we don't know if we're going to be living in the Bermuda Triangle, because we don't know if county is going to be who we can call. We don't know if city is going to be who we can call. We have no idea it's going to help us, if it's going to be a sheriff, a Clovis police officer, fire, from the county. We have no idea. So those homes might be very small to all of you, but we have been there for quite some time. We have been in this situation with this particular group of people from the beginning when they knocked down the trees. So we have been patiently waiting since March to figure out what they're going to do, and they haven't been forthcoming until this last moment of this last week. So, and the offer that they sent was not reasonable, or it's not going to work. So I just wanted you to know that putting this off for a few more minutes is really what I would wish for, so that we can go all the way through that, because what is the point of having development on just one side of the road when you really needed to fix that whole artery for years? We have had people die in our front yard for many, many years. So if you don't take both sides of the street into consideration, or they don't take their due diligence to give us that information that we need to make decisions, because we have had this issue behind our house as well. We've also had this issue on the east side of our house, of which we've been trying to be neighborly with the city. We've also given a piece of our property to the city to help a piece of the walking trail connect. But during COVID, and people were all in our backyard ready to kill us because we wouldn't let them go behind our home, this is just, now they're going to be in our front yard, and how is that going to make it any better? So until we get those answers, I don't think that we should approve this situation. And if they want to walk all the way through this communication and allow us to make decisions about what we want to do while we're sitting in this mess, which we have been, and if you went to the meeting on the, what was it, the April 17th meeting, they have no idea how come they haven't been able to move forward and open this street up, even from the Lennar corner, which is Sunnyside and Shepherd. They have no clear determination on when they're going to be able to get this road up and open, and they blame it on PG&E. And if PG&E isn't there, they blame it on the county. And the county isn't there, they say go to the next meeting. So we're still completely in the dark on what's going to happen next. And I can see your little drawings where somebody else's fence is going to get taller, and somebody else is going to have some single-leveled homes behind their home. But we are living directly across from that, and it's a lot of people. I mean, 25 homes out of that area is not really a consolation prize, because it's a lot of people. So I think the city should take a little bit more time and let us go all the way through whatever's going to happen next in our front yard.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez, this is speaking to your concern,
Well, he said, yeah, maybe you can, possibly. I'm concerned about that.
Okay. You live in those 4 homes that are
yes.
on the south side of Shepherd?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And
so there needs to be some type of thing written in there where you can actually speak to this issue, because it is an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Councilman Baxter, did you want to follow up? I mean, do you have a response at all? Okay. Stan, you'll respond to that?
Council members, Stan Harbor, 389 Clovis Avenue. Our office, as the engineer for Wilson Homes, has started some dialogue with property owners along both sides of Shepherd Avenue. And our role at this point has been to explain what the city requirement is that is going to the council for approval, to show them the right-of-way that would be needed for those improvements, show them the maps of how it lays out, and then also give them a copy of the appraisal reports that were done on the property. So it's been very preliminary at this point, making contact, letting them know the information and the appraised amount, getting some good feedback from different property owners of if this goes forward, this is what we would like to see at our property. It's very preliminary process at this point, but there have been no official offers other than showing the appraised amounts.
Thank you, Steve.
Any
Any
questions?
questions for Steve? Thank you.
Okay.
Long, I do have
Go
a
ahead.
question for
Go ahead.
staff. Can you give us a quick update on Shepherd, what the plan is and when they can expect at least some relief?
So the latest update is by the end of June, they should have the road completely open and everything operational, for the current work.
From Clovis to
So-
Fowler?
So it'll be completely open on Shepherd and Sunnyside. The current work is the intersection of Sunnyside and the widening of the road immediately west of Sunnyside on Shepherd.
So the residents and the users of the roadway will be able to have access all the way from Clovis Avenue to Fowler on Shepherd?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on this item from the public?
Hi, my name is Michelle Lung. I'm a resident at 8210 North Sunnyside, and I went to every single one of the meetings. It's very disappointing for us, those of us that are on Sunnyside, about how dangerous and difficult the traffic issues have become over the last year, and then with these projects being improved. We just seem to be located in an area that we're the stepchild, because we have county and city, and it seems that our area is just not really being adequately addressed with the traffic solutions. The county says that they don't really, they want to consider the traffic calming measures. There's no time frame on that, and apparently there's not money. If I'm not mistaken, there's not really money yet to fund those projects. So I'm thinking this is going to be way down the road before anything is really done, and it's a current problem now, and the current problems just do not seem to have any solutions that are going to solve some of these problems. So it would be nice if Shepherd could be closed off. Apparently, due to some very antiquated, the definition of streets being, I forgot the actual the word, but there's a word for a collector street. Sunnyside is a collector street from like 40, 50 years ago. So why that can't be updated and changed and modified and solutions figured out, I don't know. But that's kind of how it seems to me at this point, because, once I started coming to the meetings only because of my concerns of traffic and safety that seemed to be multiplied as soon as the fire lane was put in, and the traffic, I had already noticed the traffic was increasing, and with that fire lane, it became very dangerous for us to get back out onto the street every day, every time we leave. So that's my assessment of going to every single one of the meetings. So I don't feel like there's really been very good proposed solutions in any short-term time frame.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Ms. Lung?
I actually have a question for staff related to that.
Thank you, Michelle.
Did anybody from our staff attend the meeting with county? Did you say we were there as well? Was there any financial proposals that were made, or I know we don't want to speak on behalf of the county, but my understanding is that there were some proposals made to help fix Sunnyside.
So the county did make a few proposals, not including just Sunnyside. They offered to provide or help provide funding to improve the Needs Avenue Road in between Clovis and Sunnyside. They also offered to help try and get federal funding for the intersection to do the signal at Needs and Sunnyside to help the traffic situation. And they were pursuing additional funding to see what they can do to do a traffic calming device at Teague and Sunnyside. The developer is also putting money towards that, but they are also looking for additional funding to what they said they were looking to do is do what they call a mini roundabout, at that intersection. Either that or, the original traffic calming device that they were going after.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick follow, you're talking about Teague and Sunnyside?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on the item?
Hello, Council. My name is Albert Sanchez, and I live at 5211 East Shepherd Avenue in Clovis. I would ask the Council not approve this at this time until there's an agreement between the developer and the property owners on the south side of Shepherd between Sunnyside and Fowler. We have not agreed to selling any of our property, any of the frontage, any of the right-of-way, whatever. I know 3 out of the 4 neighbors there, us being one of the 3, have not agreed or have not come to an agreement with the developer. So until that's done, I think this should be held off and not approved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
I have a follow-up question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, based on, there's no agreement between the neighbors and developers over, potential buying of land or whatever, if they weren't to come to a resolution or an agreement, that would just eliminate that part of the project?
No. And currently, the developer's actually getting out ahead, for this work on Shepherd. We requested them to, kind of engage on this earlier than normal. But if we did come to, having issues, acquiring right-of-way on Shepherd, then we would look at, it is for the widening of the street, to facilitate a 4-lane road through the, on Shepherd in between Fowler and Sunnyside. It's not specifically just for this project. This project is facilitating it. So it is needed. It is part of the general plan to have this road widened to this location. So I believe at that point we would probably look at going through the eminent domain process if we couldn't come to resolution.
I think I was referring more to the trail system.
So the trail itself, we're going after a 20-foot right-of-way behind the curb and the right-of-way. It would be 20 foot whether or not we had the trail or not.
So just to clarify, if there wasn't a resolution between the developer and the neighbors for that 20-foot for a trail, then that's just something that could be eliminated from the project.
So you're talking about eliminating the trail itself?
Yes.
We could have a discussion on that.
Anyone else here to speak on the item? Any other questions? No one else? Oh. All right, if there's no one else.
My question is, it's Yvette Sanchez again, sorry. So my question is, that is what we've been dealing with the whole time, is whether we can get out of harm's way or if we're going to be stuck in harm's way. This is key to where our problem is if somebody would actually put the true picture of what's going to happen in front of us, we might be able to make decisions. But if you say to him, we could maybe do that sometime later, that my value of my home is going down because you're taking pieces of property off of my home that I already pay taxes for. They're talking about eminent domain in the first few sentences of their moment, which means they're going to take it from me. If I go to the county and talk to Steve White, he says, I'm sorry, my hands are washed of it, or he won't call me back. If I go with the prescriptive easement, which they would like me to be part of that, because that means they wouldn't have to pay for some of the, well, I still pay for taxes on that property, whether it's behind my house or in front of my house. It's not my fault that I'm in this triangle with y'all. I wasn't planning on having 580 houses across from my house. I bought in a rural area for a reason.
Ms. Sanchez, okay, we understand your concern, so usually we don't do a back and forth, and so.
Okay. Thank you.
We got your points. Thank you. Anyone else wanted to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public portion, bring it back to the council for any questions, comments of staff or to the staff or motions.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a procedural question for the city attorney. Do we read each item into the record and vote individually, or do we read each item then vote overall?
I'm going to ask for individual votes on each item. Don't have to read the full item into the record. It's in the record now, but I would suggest, I think there's 3 items. Obviously, the EIR addendum, as George mentioned, the track map resolution in the packet, which is item, George, help me out, item E, yes. That would reflect if the council so chooses to go with the proposed revision. It's going to go from 605 lots to 580. And then item F is the PDP resolution. It's not in the title of the resolution, although it is reflected on the agenda. It does say 605 lot. So to the extent that that reduction also would apply for the 580, I think there's a reference in one of the recitals in that resolution in the council packet that does refer to 605 lots. So.
Thank you, Scott.
And for the Sanchez and the other neighbors, I just want to clarify the process just so that those 4 residents understand. What's coming is what is drawn and prepared and presented to the council, meaning expansion of Shepherd and a trail system, I guess, in the front of your home. And that is what is going to be proposed. The process then would be to try to acquire it from the developer. If not, then it would be a public taking after that, correct? Because that is what is approved.
That's correct.
Okay. So just so that you understand, that is sort of what's going on, so that way it is clear that there's nothing hidden. And like our city engineer said, this is just happening beforehand. Usually we approve it and those things will happen after the approval.
And I brought up eminent domain, but the city always does its best to avoid that process.
Yeah. And
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I could add also, we're not committing, there's no commitment tonight. I want to clarify for the record, there's no commitment tonight that the city would initiate eminent domain. At some point, if voluntary acquisition doesn't happen, it would come back to the city. It may not come back to the council initially, but certainly city staff would be looking at, okay, do we want to suggest that, or is there a way to modify whatever the conditions of approval are, or adjust the project? And I'm not suggesting that we would adjust the alignment of Shepherd Avenue, but I'm also not suggesting that tonight we're going to commit to eminent domain if we can't reach a voluntary agreement with these property owners. So
that is correct. So, and we've always worked with our neighbors, and I think on my time on the council, I don't remember ever, at least on my time, where we actually had an eminent domain item come before us for us to approve. And that's, okay, so it never went to court. Okay. Bring it back to the council for the discussion, or if you have motions, we can entertain that as well. Any questions, staff?
I'm prepared to make a motion if we want to continue.
Okay. One quick question.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that it is important to me that we figure out some sort of solution for the 4 homeowners here, as this project goes on. And it's just not, hey, we got this project approved and that's the way it is. So, if we go the approval route tonight, I just want us as a city to make that commitment to work with these homeowners, so.
Okay.
It's a yes.
That's a yes.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Approve a resolution, the Clovis City Council approving adoption of an addendum to the previously certified EIR for the Clovis North project, Shepherd North project.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Approve a resolution General Plan Amendment 2021-006 of the Clovis City Council approving a request to amend the circulation element of the general plan to allow for the placement of a Shepherd Avenue access point on the north side of Shepherd Avenue between North Sunnyside and North Fowler Avenues.
We have a motion, do we get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0.
Approve a resolution, General Plan Amendment 2021-005 of the Clovis City Council, approving a request to amend the land use element of the general plan for the development area, approximately 77 acres, from rural residential land use designation to medium-high density residential land use designation.
Okay, we have a motion, can we get a second?
Second.
Motion second on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Approve a resolution, approve an ordinance of R 2021-009, ordinance of the Clovis City Council approving a request to pre-zone property within the development area, approximately 77 acres of the project site from Fresno County AL 20 Zone District to Clovis R1 PRD Zone District.
Can we get a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Approve a resolution, tract map 6205, a resolution of the Clovis City Council approving a request to approve a vesting tentative tract map for a 605 lot.
580. 580.
580, different page. 580, single lot, single family, residential development.
Second.
Good, we have motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Approve a resolution, PDP 2021-004 of the Clovis City Council approving request to approve a planned development permit for a 580 single-family residential development.
Second.
Motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, one more.
Approve a resolution of the Clovis City Council approving an amendment of the 2017 amended and restated memorandum of understanding between the County of Fresno and the City of Clovis regarding the sphere of influence to add approximately 155 acres and the standards of annexation to address the annexation of approximately 77 acres of property, Shepherd Sunnyside Northeast reorganization.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion, all of them approved, 4-0 with one absence. So we want to thank, I guess, all the parties for agreeing and doing as we requested as a council. And I think that's the way it should be. And we appreciate the Wilson team working along with the Quail Run and also the other residents and staff for helping moderate all this. And it's very complicated. And in getting the county involved, I think that is also very important that they are now intimately involved in helping resolve some of the issues of the Dry Creek Preserve and their county streets. So thank you very much, everyone.
Mayor,
Yeah.
could I just echo
Yes,
those comments also? I also just wanted to thank the development team because I know the long journey that this has been and the difficulty sometimes of going between county issues and city issues and all of that. And so I just want to thank you for your commitment to making sure that what was ultimately brought before us and we were able to approve really does fit the community. And I just, again, wanted to thank you guys for your stick-to-itiveness with the entire project and listening to the concerns and continuing to work through those things. So thank you.
Can I just really quickly?
Yes.
I'd like to also congratulate staff and the developer on this, and I want to assure the Sanchez's that we've heard your issues, and we're going to be listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, let me see where our agenda item is. Okay, go through. That concludes the public hearings. We're gonna go into city manager comments. John?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. One thing I wanted to add to the record was that, beginning with this meeting, staff's recommending that we change the public comment period from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. There's a couple different reasons for it, one of which, we're becoming a city of, pretty significant size, and we're having lengthier agenda items, and, most other cities do, the 3 minutes. It allows for efficiency and allows more people to speak in a shorter period of time. It also, allows some time management for long items that we've heard before, and it complies with the Brown Act.
Anything else?
No.
Move to city council comments. Councilmember Diane Pierce. Well, I don't know which way.
It's always difficult when it's the first meeting of a month to kind of remember all that's gone on since the previous meeting, but I just wanted to, again, thank the Clovis Rodeo Association for another outstanding rodeo, the 110th, and I also want to thank our police department for the canine demonstration. I thought that was, for me at least, one of the highlights. It was so cool, not just to see that as part of the rodeo activities, but just for the city of Clovis to be able to showcase that aspect of who we are and how we serve our community. And so from the bull riding to the bronc riding to the steer wrestling to the mutton busting and all of those other things, it was just such a great reminder of who Clovis is, those things that we love and cherish, that heritage of recognizing just how many families have participated in that through generations, how many of our local organizations and family-owned companies have supported the rodeo, and I absolutely love those days that I get to be a spectator and a part of that tradition. So April has become one of my favorite months for that reason, and again, my hat's off to everyone who participated in all the different ways to pull that off, and it was really, really fantastic. So thank you to everyone.
Councilmember Basco?
I just have one item, and bring it to the council if they would approve, if everybody's okay with making a proclamation for Special Olympics for this month. Molly Marquez has reached out and asked if we would be willing to do that for Special Olympics, so.
Okay. Any objections? Okay.
Not at all.
We have a consensus for that.
Okay. And the only other thing is, Dr. Armstrong, I owe you $100 for the debate team. I committed to it, but they sent me a QR code thing, it didn't work, so before you leave, I got you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bessinger?
I did miss rodeo this year. I was in Spain. I missed my granddaughter as a mutton buster. Yes, but there is another Skywalker. There's one Bessinger left that'll be coming up. One of the things council does whenever we go out of state, we bring little gifts for each other. So I've put Lynn's in her drawer. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And just wanted to see, we went to the EDC forecast with Chad with regards to the housing forecast with the EDC. And I know that we are a board member on there, and we appreciate us being good partners with them. And what they did tonight, I think, was important for the council. Want to thank our parks and the team for Arbor Day, for Paul inviting the council to it with the Weldon kids planting the tree. And so we have several trees there at, I don't know the name of that park, but the park on Sierra. Treasure Egmont, okay. And so that, always a great event. Rodeo was fun, so was the parade. We had the youth commission with us. And so they got to participate firsthand. And want to thank, I think it was Loma Vista who coordinated the National Day of Prayer on Thursday that some of us were able to go to, and staff was able to come out. It was out here in the courtyard. And want to say formal farewell to Deanna. I know her retirement or farewell was last week, and for PD, and she's going to be missed here with her work as our chaplain. And I think Chief Basco at that time knew her very well, and so she was very important to us. And want to congratulate Dr. Armstrong being recognized as the Woman of the Year by Senator Shannon Grove, and just what she's done in the community. So congratulations, and thank you for the swag that you brought us this evening for the Clovis Crush. And then, let me see, I every once in a while I have to thank the staff for, John, we send you so many requests, whether it's to go to a meeting or just complaints. And I don't know, I get mine, but I'm sure we all get our individual complaints, and they always all come to you, so 5 times, whatever. And so thank you for always responding quickly and also very thoroughly. So appreciate the response of staff, which comes to all of you. So thank you very much. I wanted to see if I can get support from the council with regards to having staff looking to us becoming a charter city, because the decision with regards to the SB 9, where charter cities now have more authority, and so they can be exempt. We are a general law city, to see if we would like for the staff to bring that forward. What's the process? How do we do it? What do we do? And to look at it as a council and then proceed. I think it's time. We're getting big enough that I think we want that autonomy, want that local control, and being a charter city allows us to have more control, because the decisions that were made by the court, it doesn't affect us because we are just a general law city. So I just want to see if we have any support from the rest of the council to go down this road and have the staff look into it.
I agree 100% and had been having those similar thoughts myself. So I'm glad you brought that forward, and I think that's an important thing to look into.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree to at least look into it and see what it is.
Yeah, John, could you? I don't know what it entails. I know that
the only
ask take a vote sometime
from staff's perspective, my only ask would be, can we can begin the analysis, but formally bring this back after the November election. We've just got a lot on our plate right now, and this is would be a huge ask that would probably be a special election or the next, as far as developing a charter. We can come back with, overall big picture and stuff, but to begin this, I'm going to ask that if you choose to direct staff to do it, that we actually begin after the November election.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah, fine with me.
So, thank you, John. And then I want to say this in general with regards to county roads and us. And I think the more we get too involved, I think we have to be fair with all the county roads that we affect. So, for example, we use McCall, we use everything street south of us, we use north of us. So when do we stop? It's kind of like the water issue. When do we give water to county residents? That sets a precedent, and I think it's a slippery slope. I know that the applicant in this last application volunteered to assist, but I just want us to think about that, and where does it end, and which county residents, for example, can Tarpey now come back and say, hey, what about Ashland? We need some money because that's going through, it's your residents going through. My other side of that is, for our county residents, you also use our roads. And what is your fair share when you go on Herndon, you go on Shaw, you go on all the other roads? So I think that there has to be some understanding that we live here harmoniously, and so we'll try to work it all out together. But I just wanted to just put that out, that I don't think we can get too much involved unless we want to open that can of worms and see where it all leads. So with that, I think we are adjourned. So thank you very much.